I'm going to bring in Ross, our moderator, first, and he's going to help me introduce our stars of the show for the next half hour. Welcome, Ross.
Thank you very much. Haven't we got some stars lined up?
Oh, indeed we do. And I won't steal any of the thunder. I think it's important to tag team and share the light here. But just to shed light on you, Ross, for our audience, and I want to make sure I do this properly, because reading your bio, I'm obviously very impressed with your extensive background in not-for-profit and, just generally doing good, and a bit of a funny guy. From 17 years with the Salvos and establishing innovative programs to working with the homeless, and then also to undertaking village-based community development in Zimbabwe, being a CEO for Aurelian, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, for over 12 years. You have a huge and vast and varied background and area of expertise in this way, and we're just so very fortunate to have you help moderate our next section for us. So thanks for being here.
Look, it's a great honour. And before we start, I just want to acknowledge that I'm on the land of the Wurundjeri people, and I want to pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. And when you said about stealing my thunder, it is absolutely bucketing down raining here in Melbourne, Australia. And I know around the world there's all sorts of things going on. But if you think I'm half funny and not just my shirt, we've got Rose Callaghan today. My goodness. Rose is a Melbourne-based award-winning stand-up comedian, and she's super funny. An actor, a writer, a presenter. Us Melburnians are familiar with Rose for a regular ABC podcast segment in the afternoons with the wonderful Jacinta Parsons. And before COVID ruined absolutely everything, she spent the whole year touring Australia on the club circuit, festivals, treading the boards in local comedy festivals. And over the past 8 years, she's earned a reputation for herself as being bold, provocative, and most of all, seriously, hilariously funny. ADHD Australia has been so fortunate enough to work with Rose as an ambassador for ADHD over the last few years. Just want to point out, although this is about parenting in the daily journey, Rose is not actually a mother of a child with ADHD, but she's got so many great insights. And Rose, welcome.
Thank you. He might have ADHD. I just don't know yet because he's only 2.5. So it's a bit early to tell, but we're watching his every move at the moment.
I get it. And the wonderful Kerrie White. Kerrie's got such extensive experience in multi-sector community services. She's worked with clients and staff from diverse cultural backgrounds, various socioeconomic and educational achievements. Over 20 years hands-on experience in the disability and mental health sector. Kerrie's a person, as a parent of a person with ADHD, and herself is just newly diagnosed. And Kerrie, welcome.
Thank you so much, Ross. Great to be involved.
Isn't it great? It's 7,000 people worldwide. What an amazing job everyone's done. And then
so exciting and such a great job. Thank you.
Yeah. And Debbie Scott. Debbie is an experienced, educated professional, over 25 years experience in childcare, but another job, a busy mum of 3 kids, including twin 7-year-olds, one who has ADHD and the other is autistic. So welcome everybody. Great to have you on board.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I'm just going to throw some questions out there, and I might go to you first, Kerrie, if that's okay.
Yep.
Kerrie, tell us a bit about yourself and your daily journey with ADHD.
Certainly. So as you said, Ross, I'm a mother of a son who's now 32, and he lives with ADHD as well. So that has been a real struggle for us, as you can imagine. 32 years ago, trying to get support and diagnosis was really, really challenging. But our daily struggles at the moment are different with him than what they are for me. So he's now a father, and he's going through the parenting experience. He's got a fabulously supportive partner, which is amazing. But watching him with his son brings us great joy. And some of the challenges.
What age is the son now? What age is your grandson?
He is 4.
Oh, how gorgeous.
So my grandson's 4, and I've got a granddaughter 2. And what that has done is brought out the beautiful side of my son and given him a different opportunity to learn about himself, I think. what he struggles with is not the children. He copes really well with that, but he struggles with instructions and boundaries, feeling completely overwhelmed. So he does not receive any support or treatment for his ADHD now. He pushed back against that in his teen years, and so the teen years were in the early 2000s, and there wasn't much support there. So he's gone down a road of not engaging with treatment and support.
I noticed, can I just say something? Sorry to butt in, but I do notice that that's very common in men who were diagnosed when they were kids, because they were diagnosed a lot more, and because people just said, oh, you know, it's bad behavior, or you just need medication to study. I know a lot of men now that are in their 30s and 40s who are just going, who thought that they would grow out of it, and now they're really struggling, and now they're getting re-diagnosed and treated, and, you know, it's really been really helpful to them. So that's interesting.
And that's my hope with my recent diagnosis myself. So I was diagnosed in March, and I've just finally started some medication trials this week, actually. So I'm hoping through me leading the way in that space, it'll open up the opportunity for him to see some of those benefits. But it was very much in those early days a blame the parent and blame the child. I can remember the kindergarten teacher telling me to take him home and smack his bottom and put him in his room, and you just need to, he's got you wrapped around your finger. You just need to discipline him appropriately, and he will be good.
Yeah, well, that's not the advice we need. Debbie, might bring you in. Debbie, might bring you in here. Thanks so much for that, Kerrie. Debbie, tell us about it from your perspective. What does a good day look like, and what's your daily journey with ADHD?
Well, I guess a good day, we don't have many. We do have struggles each day. My son is 7 years old. He's got ADHD and ODD and anxiety disorder as well. So his twin sister is also ASD and got sensory issues and stuff. So between the both of them, they bounce off each other and trigger each other's behaviours, and we have a lot of problem with emotional regulation in this house. So there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of tantrums, there's a lot of just, it can be quite hectic. We do have some good days. They're usually the days that we don't have anything on. So Sundays are usually our best day, because we don't have to be anywhere by a certain time. They don't have to get dressed. They don't have to do all of those transitional routines, which makes it a lot easier. And screen time, my son has a lot of obsessions. So food and screen times is his biggest obsessions. So when he's allowed to do those kinds of things, he's a lot more calmer and quieter, and that they would be our best days. Right. Look, it's a struggle. It's a struggle every day. You know, like I said, going to school, like kinder and school, doing those routines, being at certain places at certain times, making sure that the hygiene, like having a shower, brushing your teeth, is always a struggle. It's really hard. And going through COVID times when we were in so many lockdowns, it was hard to get any sessions with any therapists. So a lot of them were done through Zoom or just research myself and just trying to work it out myself. So it's been a hard journey, but we're getting there.
But Debbie, what you're almost what you're saying, you know, I'm sure I can't see 7,000 heads on my screen, but I'm sure there's so many people nodding and they're understanding what you're going through, because that's what we're here for. And Rose, you've been repping this space. What's your response to this?
Sorry, which question?
Well, to what you've heard from Kerrie and what you've just heard from Debbie and the daily struggles, you've got some reflections upon that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, because my child isn't diagnosed, but and I didn't get diagnosed till I was 32, and I just did a school talk this week to like a few hundred year sevens and year nines, which was really cool to be able to go and talk to them and basically talk about my journey and like the things I've done in my career and how I was able to push past like all the struggles that I had. So I didn't want to be like, and now I'm cured and everything's fine. But I was able to show them like some of the cool things I've been able to do in my career, and just to say to them, like, go with what you're good at, focus on what your passions are, and like bullying is a big part of having ADHD. Like I got bullied so much, and then kids with ADHD are also more likely to bully. So it's such a struggle, but it was good to be able to have the opportunity to say what things from my perspective and what I'd learned, and talk about ADHD superpowers as well.
Yeah.
And talking to the coordinator there, because I said, like, are people okay with disclosing their ADHD? Because I felt like the kids probably don't care. And he was like, oh yeah, they're cool about it, but some of the parents, they don't like the label, and they don't want to medicate their kids and things like that. So there's so much learning that stigma that needs to be broken down, like across different generations as well, like
Definitely.
like
Yeah.
parents, teachers, that sort of thing. And like it's really difficult to be told, like that you're being a bad parent, and that like you need to give them a smack and all that sort of thing. And like I'm sure no one's going to say that now, but there still is so much misinformation about ADHD that we still need to push past, especially around medication. It's like years and years and years and years of media going, we're giving speed to kids, and this whole thing of like everyone's getting diagnosed with ADHD, which, again, because of TikTok, so many people have been diagnosed in the last few years. And we really need to find a way to do a better job of getting the core messages out there. Like there were so many undiagnosed people that, of course, if you raise heaps of awareness, like a lot of people are going to get diagnosed. But like my son's 2.5, so he hasn't been diagnosed with anything. But we recently realized as well that, because I'm like the crazy, like disorganized parent. My partner's like the really organized, regimented one. That's my tip. Get a type A personality partner that'll just like organize the house. But we recently have realized that my partner is like autistic, which is hilarious. So we're both neurodivergent. He hasn't had an official diagnosis, but we've read, like, he's read all the books, we've looked at everything. So now we're just looking at, and my partner had dyslexia as a kid as well. So we're like looking at our son going, what's that thing? What's that thing? But then it's like, you know what? It doesn't actually matter. It, like, what does that mean? All we can do is try to get him to stop biting kids at daycare, which is, that's like a funny little sign that's going on at the moment. You're like, which thing is it? Which could it be? But there's a long way to go in making things easier, and it's good that more young girls are getting diagnosed. That's good, but I definitely think, so many boys got told that you grow out of it and it's behavioral and you only need your medication to study. Like that's what my cousin was told. Surprise, there's a bunch of people in my family that also have ADHD, and it took a really long time for him to go, oh, okay, maybe I actually need that all the time. There's a lot of adults with ADHD that got told they only need medication to study, and it's like, no, you need it for life, for like doing the dishes and that kind of thing.
Yeah, brilliant.
So that is my incredibly long answer to that question.
It's very, very, very well. I'm going to come back to you, Kerrie and Debbie, because Rose took us down that couple of different lines I want to explore. What's been your experience and your learning about how do you parent and deal with the issue of bullying? What have you learned in this space?
You can go first.
You can go if you like, Deb. That's fine.
Well, I guess my son's 7, so we haven't gone through any bullying or anything like that. My son's always been drawn to like-minded children. So I guess children who are more, they're not diagnosed with ADHD, but they might be on the silly side, or they might have behavioural sort of, your typical 7-year-old boy. So he fits in
ADHD
quite
people
well.
just attract each other. It's like moths to
They
a flame.
do.
They're like, let's all be friends with each other. It's very funny.
And I guess because they can be themselves, he does have a couple of friends who are not diagnosed and don't have any signs, but they're quite wild boys. So he fits in really well with them, and they're really, really good with them. And Josh has explained to them that my brain doesn't work the same as yours, and like he has his own little like explanation of what he's going through. So like we've been really lucky. We don't have to worry about bullying just yet. I'm sure it's out there and it's going to come down the track, but right now.
So when it does come down the track, Debbie, did you have faith in the school to handle it, and how would you handle it with the school?
Look, we do have a great school, and they do have great policies in place, but I guess until you're in it, you won't know, will you? So that's something that I'll have to...
Kerrie, you've been down this path, haven't you, Kerrie? What's been your experience with the bullying? And because your son's now 32, I think you said.
Yeah, he is. And it was a different world when he was going to school. So he did have a couple of close friends throughout, but he wasn't necessarily needing a lot of friends either at that time. He did have a little bit of bullying, but not a lot. Schools, I think, now deal with it a lot differently. We probably found more the bullying towards us as parents rather than my son at that time, because
What does that look like, Kerrie? What does that look like?
It looked like things like the school teachers saying to me, "Oh, it must be very, very difficult being a single mum parenting. That would explain your son's behaviour." And I'm like, 1, I'm a good parent, and 2, I'm not a single parent. And even if I was, that doesn't impact on it. There was just the assumption that parents, that you were doing something wrong. And that come not only from the school, but Rose spoke before about the generational differences and challenges. So we copped it from our parents, and the aunties and everybody else thinking what we were doing was wrong. And you'd see it in the supermarket when my son was having a meltdown, and people would say, "Can't you control that kid? Get him out of here," which would just make the whole situation so much worse. And you'd be the one standing at the register with your child completely out of control, and the whole supermarket kind of glaring at you. So it was more that community and generational negativity towards us as a whole. Really.
That word picture you've just painted, Kerrie, I can see it in my mind, and I'm sure the 7,000 people that are listening into this, they've got that story there, and we've got a long way to go. I want to ask you 3 brilliant women about, if you could elaborate about your expectations, or what parenting was, or what your expectations of being a woman was, and how ADHD has changed that, or modified that, or redirected it. Let's go to you first, if that's okay, Rose. I reckon you're going to be brief on this.
Sure. It's just interesting thinking about the bullying stuff as well, because I'm more inattentive, so I was a bit more like away with the fairies. So I think like my mum, who was a single mum, didn't cop it in that way. It just like didn't get picked up on. But Yeah, like there's so many expectations on women to run the entire household, which is already like a huge issue as it is. And like the division of labor is still very much weighted towards women, but women also have to like work full time and have all the same responsibilities of working. And so that's already so difficult when you have a kid. And then when you add ADHD on top of it, I just see so many women that are completely burnt out. You know, like their mental health is terrible. And, you know, I think I'm very much like a feminist, and, you know, I did a lot of therapy before I'd had a kid. You know, it's like just trying to focus on like being kind to myself and just like knowing that I only have enough spoons in the day. You know, the sort of spoon metaphor of like people with ADHD or disabilities have less spoons, and like a task that might take, you know, less spoons for a regular person, it really drains us. So yeah, it's like it's okay to take shortcuts. It's okay to just like stay at home and not go out and do all these activities and just like make things in the microwave and that sort of thing. So I think I have a very like level-headed mindset about parenting, and I know that it's really important for me to not be burnt out for myself, but also, you know, I'm in a better mood to like hang out with my son and play with him and be silly. And I just think it's important to remember, like, you don't have to do all these things all the time, take them to this place and that place, and this has to be perfect, and every night has to be a meal cooked from scratch. Like, kids are often, like, especially little kids, are often just like happy, like hanging out and playing at home, that kind of thing. So
we don't have to
yeah,
be the Brady Bunch, do we?
no, exactly. And also I think like my mom was a single mom, and she, I think, has ADHD. So I think like maybe also that set like a very realistic sort of, I don't know, model. Like we're always like late for things and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's my perspective.
Thank you. Kerrie, what about your expectations of womanhood and parenting, and how ADHD shaped that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is so much pressure on women, and I completely agree with Rose, that expectation that you're going to work full time. Well, I work full time.
You work more than full time, Kerrie. I've seen you.
Yes, yes. So trying to work full time, study, run a house, run children, you know, to and from appointments and sports and all of those different things. And it would always be the mum that the school would call.
Yes.
You know, something's happened at school and you're the one who gets the call at work.
It's still that way. It is still that way. We'll give them both of our numbers, or we'll just give them my partner's number because he actually answers his phone. And they find me somehow. I'm like, how did you even get my number? It's all comes to me. It's really annoying.
Yes, and there just is that absolute expectation that mum will resolve it. You know, mum's the one got to come pick them up when they're sick.
Mum's the fixer.
Mum's the fixer. And in my experience, that come from all of our family, extended family as well. So it was, if something's wrong in the house, it's the mum's fault. You know, if I could, you know, cook better meals or have the washing sorted, you know, maybe the children would behave better if I did that, and they would then, you know, if I was disciplining them properly, if they had a better routine. Do you know what I mean? It was all put back on.
And also, Kerrie, when you get to a certain age, you've got your own parents that are typically aging, and that they start to need you. And guess where that falls more heavily on the sons or the daughters. So you're parenting your own kids. You've got your own issues, and then you've got your aging parents. And is that an issue as well?
I haven't had that issue. my parents died fairly early, so
I'm
that's
sorry
I
to hear
haven't
that.
had that issue.
I wouldn't have gone there if I knew that. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I've got a new responsibility though. That's the grandkids. So when something's needed there, my kids share that with both myself and my husband. But it is another
It's a woman thing.
I
responsibility.
notice it's like as soon as women retire, it's like then their kids have kids, and then they're just expected to be like the part-time childcare.
They really are. Like I will get from people, oh, you're still working full time, so how do you help with the grandkids? You know, so there's that expectation that I should give up work and start helping more with the grandkids.
Debbie, I imagine family life isn't exactly the way that you thought before you had kids. Do you want to talk us through about how you've sort of come to terms with womanhood and parenting with ADHD, kids with ADHD and ASD?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm 46 now. Since I was 16 years old, I've worked in childcare and many different roles in the industry. So I had children quite late, so I thought I was going to be this super mum who knew it all, and I was going to have the best behaved children, and everything was going to be perfect. But yeah, it didn't work out that way. All of the things that I've learned and all of the knowledge that I've gained over the years just did not prepare me for what I went through in the earlier years, like 3 or 4 years ago. It was a really hard time. I'm just lucky that the kindergarten teachers had children with ADHD and ASD, so they were really supportive and helped me find the right path to getting them assessed and diagnosed and get the right people for them.
So that diagnosis made a big difference for you?
Yeah, look, it was. We were lucky to get some NDIS funding before the diagnosis, which I think they don't do now. But as soon as
autism?
No, well, my both of the twins got it, but Josh was he was assessed for autism, but he didn't meet the requirements. I did see signs of him being on the spectrum also, but when they diagnosed him with ADHD and ODD, they said NDIS had then cut his funding when he turned 7 because it didn't meet the requirements, because it's not seen as a lifelong disability.
Well, they're not
so that was really hard, because now all of Josh's therapies have stopped. So my daughter still sees her OT and her speech and psychologist, whereas Josh's is all stopped as of February, because I can't afford to pay $200 for a 45-minute session.
Wasn't there that thing? I just wanted to say, like, there was that whole thing about a lot of kids getting autism diagnoses so that they could get help at school, because it's covered, that sort of thing's covered for autism but not for ADHD. It's just, it's so difficult.
Well, I actually think he is on the spectrum also, which he wasn't meeting any of the checklists for anything, but he did present differently at home than he did at school, and than he did in the assessment room with the psychologist. It's different being in an empty room with a table and a chair and one person asking you questions than it is to be at home with all of these toys, and you've got TVs and video games and pianos and all of these things around you. So he was easily distracted at home. So yeah, it was really hard. But once I did find out his diagnosis, it really helped me start to understand him a little bit more. And it's like our relationship changed. All of a sudden, it's like I accepted his behaviors and just his little quirks that he had. And I'm able to deal with them a lot better now.
Let's talk about something else that Rose touched on, and that is that ADHD being an enabler. What is it that you've been really proud of yourself or of your child that you feel maybe ADHD was the enabler or the superpower that'll let that happen? What's a really proud moment that you've had? Any one of you three will go.
Oh.
Yours.
Oh, I mean, I'm a stand-up comedian, like my whole job, everything. And it's not like I just do stand-up either. Like I do stand-up and I tour around and I've written all these shows, and then I do acting as well. And I do public speaking, and I'm talking about ADHD. And then I'm a senior copywriter in advertising. And I also worked in social media, and I also write things, and I did some TV writing on Gruen this year. And I don't know, I just am very creative. And I guess with my son, I think I'm just very silly. And he's really silly as well, which is cute. My partner's also silly, and he's just had the silly gene from a very young age. So yeah, I don't know. I guess ADHD's it's the reason why I've got such a creative, diverse career, because I'm an ideas person. And I think it makes me a fun mum as well. There's heaps of stuff that I'm bad at, housekeeping stuff. And some of the other organizing stuff, it's it takes me so much effort to do it, so many Google Calendar things and alarms and stuff. But then, I'm very empathetic, and I can sense his moods and stuff. And I think I'm good with the sort of developmental stuff, noticing when he's starting to get into a different phase and figuring out what he needs and reading his emotions. I notice when I'm at the playground, I'm the only parent that's getting up and going down the slide a bunch of times. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not everyone sort of does that. I'm I'm here anyway. I may as well
I'm with you.
have my own fun.
Good on you.
Yeah.
What about your proud moments? Obviously you've your 32-year-old with your son, and there's been many achievements. What's really made you proud?
Probably his sense of social justice, I think. And I think that's from, him living with the challenges that he's got. And one of the proudest moments was the school ringing. And it was saying that he'd attempted to assault a child. Now, you'd think that isn't a great moment. But when I sat down and said, "Hey, mate, what's going on?" And he's they were picking on the girl because she has a disability and she has to go to a special school. And, they were laughing and they were doing this and they were doing that. Mum, I wasn't really going to smash him with the rock, but I wanted him to know what it felt like for him to be scared, because that's how Jenny would be feeling. And to me, I was just so proud that he stood up for her. Yeah, he went about it the wrong way, and we've kind of...
I wish you went to my school and stood up for me. That would have been good.
That's right. But yeah, that to me was a real proud moment, that he stands up for what he believes in, and he stands up for that with other people. And he is so dogged and so committed when he believes in something.
Yeah. And you must be so proud that he's such a good parent.
He's a great dad. He's an absolute great dad. So we're really, really blessed.
Debbie, can you is this something you can respond to about moments of pride in your kids?
Well, look, Josh has come a long way in the past few years. This year, we've seen a major change. We did try medication for him a few months ago. It didn't work, so we've got to go try some other ones. But in the last couple of months, he's changing. He's starting to go through a bit of a change, and I think that's also comes from me. We don't have screen times on Mondays and Tuesdays, so buying some Play-Doh on Monday before he gets home from school. So then when he came home, he's obsessed. He loves Play-Doh. So for 3 days, he just sat there and he's building, and for hours. So just seeing him happy, and he comes home and he tells me about school and things that he's done at school, and he seems to be, I guess, learning how to cope with it a little bit more. When he comes home, he's not as wild as he used to be, and that's, I guess, it's teamwork. And also his siblings are starting to sort of learn his triggers as well and stay away and help. So help where needed and stay away. So yeah, he's coming a long way. We're starting to find a groove.
I'm pleased to hear it. Hey guys,
Not perfect,
you've
but we're getting there.
no, we're not after perfection. I don't think that's
No,
what we're chasing.
far from.
But you guys you've lived it. You've got such great advice. So, what is the one piece of advice you'd like to give to the 7,000 people that are listening? And I know, Rose, I'm going to call you in first because I know you raised the issue of medication. I know you've got some thoughts there.
Yeah.
Kerrie, a bit later. You don't. The advice doesn't just have to be about medication. I'm just going to throw it open.
I guess I'll. Do you want me to go?
Yeah, please.
first?
I do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, the thing that I wanted to talk about was just like, because, you know, my kid's 2.5, and the advice that still gets given to women when they're pregnant or breastfeeding is super outdated. It's based on this research where they like tested whether it was bad for like rats who were pregnant to take meth. And like, you know, this is like, it hasn't been updated. So many health professionals have no knowledge about ADHD. They have no specific knowledge. So when I was thinking about getting pregnant, I called Rodney White at MedSafe, is it called? MotherSafe, and he's a pharmacist and he's an expert in like medications and pregnancy and breastfeeding. I was like, is it okay to take medication when pregnant? Because I was like, I can't do that. I can't go off my medication. Like, it's just, yeah, especially at a time like that. And with breastfeeding, they often say to like not take it. Called him, like his office, they said it was fine. I spoke to 2 different specialty ADHD psychiatrists and they said it's fine. With medication, you're supposed to be balancing the risk, you know, like the risks of both things. It's like risk to the child, risk to you. But with medicine still, it's like the tiniest risk to the child is weighted like this, and like the worst risk to the mother is just not considered at all. So even on the hospital database that she looked it up, she was like, oh, the recommendation is to take other medication. And I'm like, what other medication? You know, like other than stimulants, that's what it is. So yeah, and I've read so much research about it, and I'm in Facebook groups with women with ADHD having mental breakdowns because they have been told to go off their medication. It's just super dangerous. So my advice would be, you know, like just to take that into consideration and like really look up all the research and speak to people that are experts in ADHD, because it was black and white. The people that didn't know about ADHD would be like, go off your medication. Everybody that knows about it would say that it was okay. So it's very fraught. And yeah, I just want people to know that it is kind of pretty controversial to tell women to go off their medication, especially because we're at so much risk of like postnatal depression and postnatal anxiety. That's very, very concise of me, as per usual.
Debbie, what would be your advice regarding medicine or anything else? Can you believe we've only got a few minutes to go? It's gone so fast. So, but we really want to hear what would be your piece of advice for a parent?
Well, obviously, medication for the ADHD child.
Yeah. On any advice on medication?
Well,
your last
thoughts about
it?
I don't know why, but I was quite against it. I don't look. I'm not one to give my kids medication anyway. Like, unless they've got a high fever. Like, I don't tend to use medication. But I have been given a lot of advice to put Josh on medication, and I held off until he was 7, until this year, and then I looked at getting some advice because some behaviours were a little bit out of control. And they said that it would help him to study or help him through school. And I thought, I'll give it a go, but it didn't work for him. It made him, he slept most of the time, and he was all groggy and he was stoned or something. He was just really, and then as soon as that medication wore off, he would be bouncing off the walls and it'd all come out. So it was like one extreme to the other. So it was obviously the wrong medication for him. So I just said that we'll try some other medications, or we'll just give it a bit of a break for a while. So just to get it out of his system, because that was only a couple of months ago.
And Kerrie, what's your...
each to your own. Some people are happy to give medication, and I don't think that there should be anything wrong with not either. If it can be managed without medication, go for it.
If there was easier access to experts with medication for adults and children, like it's so hard to get an appointment to chat about things when you change, like titrating your doses, it's impossible. So like, of course you're just going to go, let's leave it for a while because it's so hard.
Well, you have to go through a pediatrician, and to get an appointment with our pediatrician, it was like a 3-month wait. So, you know, we won't be seeing them till November anyway. So that's a lot of time between every time you try a medication. So he could be 10 before we even get the right medication.
Kerrie, we've just got a couple of minutes left. You've what would your piece of advice be to parents?
My piece of advice would be to trust your gut. Despite what everybody else is saying, trust your gut. You know your child, you know yourself, and have faith in that, and reach out for support when and where you need it. And to stand proud with your child, and don't take on all that negativity. It's not about parenting. The world just needs to be more accepting. Just enjoy your child and let it go.
What sensational way to finish.
That's beautiful. I'm like tearing up right now.
No. I knew we had an amazing 3 women here today. I want to thank you for your time and your candid nature in sharing what it's been like and what you're going through. Absolutely incredible. And Kerrie, you just knocked the ball out of the ballpark with those last comments. So parents out there, be proud and trust your gut. So thank you so much. I'm going to hand it back now. What a great session. Thank you.
What a wonderful session. Thank you, Kerrie. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Ross. I think what wonderful perspectives, and I really, really appreciate it. I think both sides of the coin presented in terms of parenting with ADHD and parenting kids with ADHD. And so it's just so very valuable and so relatable. Absolutely, that last comment in and around, just celebrate your child and just, be with your child and don't worry. Sounds so easy, but we forget in the moment. And I really do thank you for taking the time to illustrate that for us. And Ross, before I let you go, I would love to know just one insight from you, listening to the great panel of women here. What did you learn today whilst talking to these guests?
Well, I really got a lot out of it, and I really was taken by Rose's thing that you might have a diagnosis of ADHD, but that's what makes you as a person. And you don't live within a diagnosis, you live within a community, within a family structure. And I think that's what comes back to why I felt Kerrie's comment was just so magnificent, because it's about being proud, trusting who you are, believing in yourself, putting the shoulders back and walking out, and this is who I am. And it is, if the world can't handle that, that's not your problem, that's the world's problem. And so that's what I really took away from it.
Wonderful. Put your shoulders back. I love that. All right. Well, I'll let you. Yep. I'll let you go. Again, my greatest thanks to you, and on behalf of the ADHD team here in Australia. Wonderful contributions today. I really do thank you for taking the time out, and hope to speak to you again shortly. Thank you, everyone.